What's up everyone? Today we're going to talk about questions that you should be asking coding bootcamps before joining one. And if y'all are not aware, I was a coding bootcamp instructor for quite some time, helping hundreds of students getting jobs in tech. So let's start. Money is a huge factor when it comes to coding bootcamps, and the amount of money that you'll pay is going to depend on the type of bootcamp that you attend, as well as the type of program that you choose. Typically, there will be an option to do full-time program and a part-time program. And usually full-time program costs a little bit more because they're not self-paced and they have more structure to it. Also, there will be different payment options available for you, and if you're going to be attending a full-time program, there are probably going to be two options, or at least two main options, which are going to be paying for the program upfront, which is usually the cheapest option, and income shared agreement. So let's talk about income shared agreement for a bit. And I want to preface it by saying that everything that I'm mentioning is going to depend on the bootcamp, so make sure you do your own research, you contact the bootcamp of your choice and ask them about these different options. Let's continue. The reason why I mentioned certain salaries is because there will be a minimum threshold that you actually need to reach before sharing your income. And the way that it's actually going to be shared is by taking a certain percentage of your salary for 1, 2, or 3 years, of course, depending on the bootcamp. But I think all bootcamps actually cap the amount of money that you'll pay them at a certain level so that you don't actually overpay in case you find a job with a 200K salary. However, if you're in an income shared agreement and you graduated the bootcamp and you find yourself in a position where you can pay the full amount much sooner, bootcamps might actually give you a discount for that. So I gave you a bunch of different options that might be available for you, so make sure to talk to your bootcamp about those. You're paying lots and lots of money for studying there, so you kind of need to know everything, especially when it comes to money. So moving on next. Okay, so this is a pretty important topic, so let's cover different aspects of it. And once again, I'm going to mention that things are not going to be the same throughout all different bootcamps, so make sure you check with them. So let's say you got into the bootcamp, you've been there for a certain period of time, and then something happens. And let's talk about different scenarios of what could actually happen. And scenario number 1, emergency. And life happens, there could be a family emergency, extreme weather conditions, sicknesses, and when you're the full-time program, this could mean that you won't be able to attend classes. And when you're the bootcamp, you definitely don't want to fall behind since it's almost impossible to play catch-up over there. Also, since you're committing to at least 2-3 months of studying, you don't want to go back and start all over again because most of the people joining bootcamps have limited funds since they don't work for a long period of time. So make sure you know what happens in that case. Scenario number 2, you don't really like the bootcamp. That doesn't really happen often. On my watch, that happened once or twice, but still you don't really want your money go to waste. Make sure you ask about that. Not much to talk about here, so let's move on to the next scenario, which is going to be you cannot keep up with the pace. And alright, that actually happens quite a lot, especially at the beginning, because I've already mentioned that bootcamps are super fast-paced and they're essentially for fast learners. And I'm not saying that you cannot do that, but still, just to make sure, know what happens in that case. And I think we've covered enough here, so on to the next question. Cool, that one is pretty vague, so let me clarify what I mean about the structure. We definitely want to know about day-by-day schedule, so there are no surprises here because some bootcamps do live lectures, some bootcamps do not do that. Some bootcamps do a lot of solo practice and some bootcamps do a lot of pair programming. And if you're not really familiar with the term of pair programming, it is basically when you go through the particular program with a pair instead of going through it on your own. And on top of that, some bootcamps actually have tests, like internal tests or like internal exams that they use in order to make sure that you're actually ready to move on to the next topic. And some bootcamps do not have that. So definitely make sure how your day-to-day schedule is going to look like. Also ask about the topics that are actually covered in the curriculum. Most bootcamps provide weekly breakdown of the topics, and you can actually grab it and compare it to other bootcamps and see if any of them actually goes into the topic that interests you the most more in depth. We don't want to go to boot camps and be surprised that something that you expected to be covered is not in the curriculum at all. And perhaps you have some friends that are working in the tech industry that can go over the curriculum with you and see and suggest if there are any boot camps that fits your interest. Another important aspect of boot camps is staff, and you want to make sure that the boot camps that you're choosing is actually adequately staffed, because you don't want one single instructor covering questions for 30 students, because it's not really feasible. And I want to piggyback on that topic. Ask about how often you may ask questions. Are instructors available throughout the day? Can you talk to them personally, or you can only reach them via some kind of internal service or Slack or email? Some bootcamps only offer 1 hour of one-on-one per week or per 2 weeks, and once you're at the bootcamp, you will have a lot of confusions on different topics, and you want to make sure that your questions are actually going to be answered. On top of that, you should absolutely ask about how experienced their staff is. Since mentorship plays a really important role in the industry, you want to make sure that people that are going to be teaching you know what they're doing. Obviously, bootcamps won't be staffed with a bunch of senior engineers, but they need to have some people with experience that are going to be available for you, especially when you start working on your final projects. Okay, and I will be quick on that one. First things first is you want to make sure that you will retain access to all of the materials. And I'm pretty sure all the bootcamps actually give you a lifetime access to materials, but it's still worth checking. Definitely ask about what kind of help will you be getting during job search. Ask about alumni network. You will learn that alumni network is actually pretty important, and a lot of alumni actually help fresh graduates in finding jobs. Also, some bootcamps might have connections in bigger companies or startups, so if your bootcamp has that, that's definitely a plus. And last but not least, make sure to reach out to current students or fresh graduates of your bootcamp via LinkedIn. They are pretty open about it and will tell you about their experience. And that's it for that video. And if you're someone that is looking to get into coding or simply want to know more about coding bootcamps, make sure to subscribe. I will also be releasing a series of technical videos that will be preparing you for software engineering bootcamps, and that's it. I'll catch you later.